Welcome to today's Threatopia briefing. This episode cuts across the most important trends security leaders are facing right now: 0 days hitting edge devices and mobile management platforms, nation-state campaigns targeting defense supply chains, AI being weaponized for both reconnaissance and manipulation, and a resurgence of old-school tactics like brute-force Linux servers and browser extension abuse. From bring-your-own-VD attacks bypassing Windows defenses to Ivanti 0-day exploitation across European governments to AI-driven phishing and deepfake social engineering, the big story here is clear. Attackers are blending advanced techniques with simple human manipulation faster than defenders are adapting. Welcome to Threatopia, where we break down real cyber threats, breaches, and the security patterns that actually matter. This is the cybersecurity briefing you can't afford to miss. Streaming from YouTube and all your favorite podcast platforms, I'm your host, Mike Kramer, and I've been securing the private and public sector around the world for the last 20 years, helping organizations stay ahead of real attacks. Make sure to watch to the end to find out how thousands of Linux servers were brute forced. Upcoming events include the RSA conference from March 23rd to March 26th at the Moscone Center in San Francisco, California, SANS from March 29th through April 3rd at the Hyatt Regency in Orlando, Florida. That's a full SANS curriculum under one roof with over 50 courses and a new AI security training. And there's a SOC Summit. It's a free virtual event which offers a live practical look to see what it's like to work inside a SOC. That's Wednesday, March 25th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central, and they offer for an added cost a live training March 26th through April 10th. Today's practical personal security tip of the day is to never copy and paste commands into Terminal or PowerShell unless you fully understand what they do. A major pattern in today's threats, especially click-fix campaigns and the macOS InfoStealer attacks, involves attackers tricking people into running commands themselves. The malware doesn't exploit a technical vulnerability, it exploits trust and urgency. Here's the simple rule. If a website, chat message, email, or support article tells you to open Terminal or PowerShell and paste something, stop and verify first. Your quick safety checklist is don't run commands from random blogs, ads, or AI-generated pages without validation. Don't trust instructions just because they look technical. And always check the source, official vendor docs, or known trusted communities. Read the command and look for downloads. It often starts with or includes curl, wget, invoke web request, or execution flags. When in doubt, ask someone or paste it into a safe text editor first to inspect. Why this matters. Modern attackers increasingly rely on user execution. That means you unknowingly becoming the installer. A 10-second pause before hitting enter can prevent credential theft, ransomware, or a full system compromise. We have 20 stories once again here today, so let's give you a rapid scan of the most important cybersecurity developments. Threat actors are exploiting vulnerable Windows drivers in a bring-your-own-VD campaign to disable EDR and security tools before deploying malware. Nation-state groups from China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran are aggressively targeting defense organizations by exploiting 0-day vulnerabilities in edge infrastructure. European government agencies were breached through critical Ivanti EPMM 0 days, exposing sensitive staff and device data soon after public disclosure. Microsoft identified AI recommendation poisoning, where malicious links manipulate AI assistant outputs through hidden prompts. North Korean operator UNC 1069 used deepfakes, compromised accounts, and spoofed meetings to socially engineer cryptocurrency employees into running malicious commands. A new ransomware group, the Green Blood Group, breached Senegal's national identity systems, leaking biometric and national ID data affecting nearly 20 million citizens. Microsoft documented DNS-based click-fix campaigns using social engineering to distribute rats and credential stealers across Windows and macOS environments. Google uncovered suspected Russian-linked can-fail malware targeting Ukrainian organizations via LLM-enhanced phishing campaigns. State-sponsored actors intensified multi-vector operations against the global defense sector using phishing, supply chain compromise, and malware delivery. Void-link malware emerged as a stealth framework targeting Linux cloud workloads in finance and tech environments. Researchers discovered malicious Chrome extensions affecting over 37 million users, enabling business data theft and account hijacking. Google reported threat actors leveraging Gemini AI for recon, phishing development, and campaign planning. Originally announced last July, Palo Alto Networks completed their acquisition of the $25 billion acquisition of CyberArk to strengthen identity security and privileged access control. The SSH Stalker botnet compromised more than 7,000 Linux servers through brute-forced SSH credentials and persistence mechanisms. Microsoft researchers demonstrated a single prompt technique capable of weakening safety guardrails across major AI models. Mac users were targeted through Google Ads and Claude LLM artifacts distributing the MacSync info stealer. CISA issued urgent guidance to patch an actively exploited Microsoft SCCM SQL injection vulnerability. A single actor was found to drive over 83% of Ivanti RCE exploitation, that's remote code execution activity, using automation and bulletproof hosting. The UK's NCSC warned critical infrastructure providers after malware attacks against Poland's energy sector. Nation-state operations increasingly target identities, email systems, and supply chains rather than perimeter infrastructure. Whew. And that brings us to today's attack pattern deep dive. So this episode's dominant pattern includes phishing for initial access, credential abuse for persistence, exploitation of public-facing systems, defense evasion through security control tampering, and data theft or disruption for impact. The first major theme is edge and exposure abuse, so zero-day exploitation of edge devices and management platforms show up repeatedly, from defense contractors to Ivanti EPMM and the SCCM environments. Attackers are consistently targeting internet-facing systems first, then expanding access through valid credentials and identity abuse. This aligns strongly with techniques like exploitation of public-facing applications and abuse of valid accounts. Second is defense evasion and stealth. Bring your own VD attacks and Voidlink's anti-forensics capabilities show attackers moving below traditional visibility layers. Instead of simply bypassing tools, they're disabling them or operating in ways that avoid endpoint detection entirely. Third is a human-driven execution chain. Click-fix campaigns, deepfake meetings, AI-generated phishing, and malicious browser extensions all depend on user interaction. Victims are often tricked into executing the attacks themselves, running commands, installing extensions, or trusting fake communications. Fourth, we're seeing AI as both weapon and attack surface. AI recommendation poisoning, Gemini-assisted reconnaissance, and safety bypass research all indicate a new phase where AI systems themselves become part of attacker workflows. And finally, nation-state and geopolitical activity remains intense. Operations targeting defense sectors, Ukraine, and critical infrastructure show long-term espionage objectives rather than quick monetization. Across the stories, the most common attack vectors were phishing, social engineering, and exploitation of exposed systems, supported by credential abuse and scripting-based execution. So if we focus on the business impact and data breach risk here, today's stories highlight very real operational consequences. The Senegal biometric breach is a reminder that some losses are effectively permanent. Biometrics can't be changed like passwords, meaning long-term fraud and identity risk for millions. Defense sector targeting creates high strategic exposure where stolen data isn't just financial, it can include battlefield technology, operational planning, and sensitive personnel information. Identity abuse shows up repeatedly, and that directly impacts business continuity. Once attackers gain valid credentials, detection windows shrink dramatically because activity looks legitimate. Browser extension campaigns affecting tens of millions of users show how trusted ecosystems can become large-scale data exfiltration channels without triggering traditional alerts. And operationally, attacks against edge devices and infrastructure systems increase the risk of outages, regulatory scrutiny, and loss of customer trust, especially when organizations were known to have delayed patching. Some Defender lessons of today's episode. First, treat identity as your primary perimeter. Multiple campaigns relied on stolen or legitimate credentials to persist long after initial access. Second, speed matters in patch management. Ivanti and SCCM exploitation shows attackers move almost immediately after disclosure or proof of concept release. Third, monitoring must include behavior, not just signatures. Bring your own VD, DNS-based payload staging, and stealth cloud malware all bypass traditional detection logic. Fourth, user interaction remains the weak point. Security awareness has to evolve beyond email phishing and include fake meetings, AI-generated prompts, and command execution social engineering. Finally, AI governance now belongs in security programs. Organizations deploying AI assistants or internal models need monitoring and policy enforcement just like any other enterprise technology. That brings us to our security concept of the episode, which is prompt injection and AI manipulation attacks. So prompt injection is when an attacker hides instructions inside content that an AI system reads, so the AI follows the attacker's instructions instead of the user's intent. In today's stories, you saw two real-world versions of this risk. First, AI recommendation poisoning, where hidden instructions embedded and summarized with AI buttons can steer an assistant to favor certain companies. Second, Microsoft's research showing GRP obliteration, where a single prompt can weaken safety guardrails across major models. The key idea is that with AI systems, the input isn't just text, it can be links, embedded prompts, pre-filled fields, and even content designed to persist in memory. That turns AI into a new social engineering target. Instead of tricking a person directly, attackers trick the model that the person trusts. For defenders, this concept matters because traditional controls like URL filtering or malware scanning won't catch it reliably. You need governance around AI integrations, monitoring for suspicious prompt patterns and links and workflows, and clear rules on what AI tools are allowed to access and remember. Today's intelligence picture shows a cyber landscape where advanced attackers are combining the old and the new, 0 days and brute force, AI and phishing, identity abuse, and infrastructure exploitation. The consistent lesson across all stories is that trust boundaries are shifting. Drivers, AI assistants, browser extensions, and even legitimate identities are all becoming entry points. For defenders, the priority is clear. Tighten identity controls, reduce exposure on public-facing systems, move faster on patching, and expand detection beyond traditional endpoints. If you found this briefing valuable, stay tuned for our next episode where we continue breaking down the threats that matter most to defenders. Please like this show because it really helps us out. Thanks for listening to Threatopia, and stay safe out there.